Yeah, hi everybody. Just wanted to welcome everyone. Had a really good comment. Very, very good comment. And we're going to preface, we'll get to the comment here in a minute, but we're going to preface by saying when it comes to the tribulation, there's a demarcation line, a point of no return that is crossed. Now you can look at it because, you know, this is what the rapture cultists will normally say. When you start to see these signs, which is nebulous at best, because you can classify those signs. What about World War II? What about the slaughter of all these millions of people? What about Joseph Stalin, Uncle Joe, as he was affectionately known, that killed off like upwards of 50 million people? What about all these different things in history that would qualify as obscene world events? The other half of the rejoinder, spiritually speaking, is look up, for thy redemption draweth nigh. We all know that. Those are kind of the sequence of the marching orders that we have in front of us, is to be able to identify these things. So the comment was, keep in mind the fallout, no pun intended, of the sixth seal. So we can either look at it from the kickoff point, from the start of the so-called 3 years, and unless those days would be shortened, nobody would survive, like the Lord said in Matthew 24. But we also can look at it sequentially from the back end, getting around the sixth seal, because that is a slam dunk. It has every indication of being a nuclear holocaust. That would be an end-all event. The economy, reducing the population, so on and so forth. It would be bad. And see, that's what we could be right around the corner from. And it's very plausible. I know it's very ominous to talk about these things, but we need to talk about them so that we know what these situations are, so that we can expect them and advise adequately other people. To get them in the loop on this stuff. At least give them the rudimentary mile markers, prophetic mile markers, so that they know what to look for and what to expect and not be taken by surprise, so that they can prepare adequately. So yeah, we could be. I mean, we can gauge it from the back end, you know, because you have the 7 seals, the 7 trumpets, and the 7 vials. You've heard me say this hundreds of times. Is that the 6th seal, the 7th trumpet, and the 7th vial all have one key commonality. They all end in the wrath of God. So taking that into its fullest extent, and we also have to be looking at the lead up of the trumpets and the vials as well. So this could be a very encased, condensed, kind of like swirling down the drain, prophetically speaking, until that sequence of prophecies is fully exhausted. Keeping in mind that we have, you know, the first 4 seals, the white, the red, the black, and the pale. You've heard us say this many times. The white, you know, going back a few years, was very indicative of, you know, the rider with the bow, going forth, conquering and to conquer. Well, that's a strange, unique grammar concept, conquering and to conquer. So there's a continuity to the conquering, and then there's a final phase, and to conquer, that puts it in the finality range of reality. Does that make sense? Okay? In other words, it's the end of the end of the end. And the rider had a bow, and he's, again, going forth, conquering and to conquer. So he pulls the bow back in the facsimile, or the similitude, of pulling that syringe. Okay, stay with us here. Pulling that syringe back, loading it up, because we're talking about depopulation. But they didn't reach their goals. We had enough people out there on the rooftops, on the cyber rooftops, advising other people. Thank you very much. Way to go. Give me a high five and let me know you're alive. Good to go. We got the word out there. But that's very indicative, because if you look up the etymology on toxon, it means poison-tipped arrows. Arrows and poison-tipped arrows, synonymous. Makes you think. The second one, the red one, is to take peace from the land, from the earth, inclusive of the earth. I mean, we definitely see that going on as we speak. There's no peace. And it's only going to get worse. Not to be doom and gloom, but we're just telling the truth. Then the third one is the black. A measure of wheat for a penny, 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou not hurt the oil or the wine, which is very indicative of metaphoric usage in there, which we won't spend a lot of time on, but basically, it's a value system that is tied economically to certain staples of food. Also, metaphorically, the oil is keenly indicative of the Holy Spirit. You can be looked at like that too. See thou hurt not the oil. The Holy Spirit's going to be here for the duration. God will never leave you hanging. Never. Put that in your mind and your heart and sleep on it. And the wine, which is the joy, speaking of the Holy Spirit, that was the 3rd seal. The 4th one is highly indicative, and it's very, very cryptic, because on this horse, the pale green, is the rider. There's 2 riders. Death, capitalized, proper noun, and hell, capitalized, also a proper noun. So before you 7-year pre-trib rapture cultists start talking about that wicked out of 2 Thessalonians 2, because it's the nomenclature, grammatically speaking, for a proper noun person. Because if you're going to see that, then you're also going to see these two writers physically. Do you see? You can't have one without the other. You can't have your cake and eat it too. So don't go there. Or the man of sin, son of perdition, and all that kind of thing. We know where you're going with this. Death and hell. This has so much cryptic, mystical, spiritual energy to it. It's evil. It is evil. Death and hell. Then, of course, you have the fifth seal, the souls under the altar, crying out, "How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not avenge our blood on those who dwell upon the earth?" And they were each given white robes and told to rest a little while longer, while their fellow servants are killed as they. Oh no, we'll be out of here. No. So you're calling these people over there the chosen, the hexagrammal, is that a word? The hexagram 6-point star people. You're calling the chosen people. So you're going to be out of here before the chosen people who are not chosen. What is wrong with you people? So now we get to the sixth seal. The sixth seal is highly indicative of a nuclear exchange that will end it all. That's the sixth seal. When the heavens roll together as a scroll, that will upset the whole schematic. And then you have the seventh seal, which is silence in heaven for the space of half an hour. That's why we say all the time. The sixth seal, the sixth seal, the seventh trumpet, and the seventh vial, they all have one commonality. They all end in the wrath of God. So before you 7-year dispensational pre-trib rapture cultists start your diatribe claptrap about, oh no, the first 3.5 years, that'll be the wrath of Satan. Oh, really? The wrath of Satan? Are you serious? What is wrong with you people? And then in the middle of the whole thing, he walks into the temple with a pigskin, and he says, "Look, guys, I'm here to bring peace, and I'm a polyglot. I speak 35 different languages, and let's see, I graduated Kuma Cum Laude or something. Kuma, I don't know, but he's going to be a smart guy." Well, and then he sits in the temple claiming to be God, just like 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. And then all hell will break loose, and then the last 3.5 years will be the wrath of God. You know, if you're what you people are, John Darby, C.I. Schofield, Hal Lindsey, Tim LaHaye and Jerry Jenkins, all the way till now, with your Alan Didio's and your Perry Stones, your Jimmy Evans, your comic book series, Left Behind. So you know what happened? Not to get off on that. Tim Henderson has had to go back to the Geneva Bible that preceded the 1611 AV. Oh, well, that left behind means taken up. Well, that's what the etymology, that's what the Geneva Bible. Tim, you need to get with the program. We'll keep it there. So yeah, thanks for the comment. I really do appreciate that. Yeah, we could be. We could be. And all the preceding accoutrements of prophetic sequencing until finally, totally, prophetically exhausted in their finality, their totality, we could be close to the sixth seal. We'll just have to see what happens. That's what we do. We advise the people. We let them know that if they're on the wrong doctrinal path, that it will cause them confusion of faces, like it says all over the place in Daniel. In a couple chapters. And a few other places as well. But that's what we have. That's the situation on the ground right now. So get prepared. Remember your ops. Organize. Promote the word. Get out there and talk to people about it. Be a good listener at the same time. And also, study the word more. You won't go wrong. So, and a lot of times, I'll leave you with this thought. A lot of times, you get to talking to people. So they try to impress you with their orthodox presentation, or however you want to look at it. But when you start talking about the key issues, especially when it comes to the so-called largely evangelical, they own this, lock, stock, and barrel, the evangelicals, over 100 million people. You're up against some pretty big odds right there. And then when you start explaining these things, don't be surprised. if they can't handle it. And they'll try to shut it off. They'll try to shut you up. They'll try to walk away when they finally know that they can't hang. Not that it's a competition of any sort. No, it's not. Of course not. No, you're advising people so that they don't fall into these theological doctrinal snares so that it shipwrecks their faith. I mean, that's our mission right there, in a nutshell. But a lot of times, it's just too much. But you're at least planting a seed. Get them this video, show them, tell them, watch the ugly jar yet. I don't care what you tell them. You're just doing your job. You're just doing your job. Why? Because you love God's people, you love the kingdom, and you love the word. That's why you do it. That's why we do what we do. Don't you ever forget that. We need some brothers, some remnant brothers and sisters who will step up and lead from the front and keep your light burning and keep the oil in your lamps. Because the wedding feast is all about the wine. There's your wine and oil, a sub-category of that particular metaphor of the fourth seal, the rider of the black horse. Listen, I have talked to pastors, seriously. You know, like at a table you're eating chicken or, Thanksgiving, and they'll get preachy, and I'll start talking about the rapture, and they say, oh yeah, absolutely, it'll be 7 years. And I'll say, oh, you sound like you're knowledgeable, pastor. So who is it that confirms the covenant of Daniel 9:24-27? I don't know. But I can tell you that it's going to be 7 years. So that's where we're at. That's what we got to work with. Final thought. But as it gets sooner and closer to some of these prophetic, cataclysmic events, then people are going to want to know more. So be ready to give them a response. That's all we got to do. Everyone is counting on you, myself included. As always, I love you guys. Stay in the saddle. Keep moving forward as fast as you can and as well equipped as you can. We'll be at this till the smoke clears. I love you guys. Talk soon.